From the sun-drenched plains of Africa to the icy Arctic, death is an inevitable part of the circle of life. It is a force that touches every creature on Earth, and those we place upon thrones are no exception. Here's a broad look at how different royals met their end across the ages. In the realm of power, few figures loom as large as Julius Caesar. A brilliant general and shrewd politician, he seemed poised to become the undisputed ruler of Rome. But Caesar's ambition earned him many enemies within the Roman Senate. On the Ides of March 15th, 44 BC, those fears would manifest in an act of shocking violence. As Caesar entered the Senate chamber, a group of senators, men he had considered friends and allies, surrounded him. They struck, their daggers finding their mark again and again. Caesar, the man who had conquered Gaul and defied the might of Pompey, fell to the cold marble floor, his blood staining the very symbol of Roman power. Edward II, King of England, knew the sting of betrayal as keenly as any man. Deposed by his own wife, Isabella of France, and her lover, Roger Mortimer, Edward found himself imprisoned within the grim walls of Berkeley Castle. Whispers of his demise began to circulate, each more gruesome than the last. Some spoke of a red-hot poker thrust into his bowels, a horrific end for a king who had known such power. The truth, shrouded in mystery and the passage of time, remains elusive. The Battle of Bosworth Field, a pivotal moment in English history, would also be the final act for King Richard III. His reign, marred by accusations of tyranny and the shadows of his nephew's disappearance, was drawing to a close. On that fateful day, Richard, clad in armor, led his forces against the army of Henry Tudor. Richard, a courageous warrior, fought with the fury of a king fighting for his crown. Surrounded by enemies, he fell, his body pierced by multiple wounds, his reign cut short on the blood-soaked field. From the shores of Normandy, William the Conqueror had come, his eyes set on the English throne. Harold Godwinson, crowned Harold II, stood ready to defend his kingdom, his army arrayed on the high ground near Hastings. The Norman archers, their arrows darkening the sky, rained death upon the English lines. The battle raged, a brutal dance of swords and axes, but it was a single, well-aimed arrow that would decide the day. Harold, caught off guard, looked up just as the arrow found its mark, piercing his eye. Richard I, the Lionheart, a king known for his courage and military prowess, met his end not on a glorious battlefield, but in a rather ignominious manner. While besieging a castle in France, a seemingly minor wound, inflicted by a crossbow bolt, would prove to be his undoing. The wound itself, though painful, was not immediately fatal, but like a predator sensing weakness, infection set in, its grip tightening with each passing day. Richard I, the warrior king, succumbed to the infection, a stark reminder that even the mightiest can fall to unseen enemies. Mary, Queen of Scots, a queen caught between two worlds, a pawn in the dangerous game of Elizabethan politics, met her end on the executioner's block. Accused of plotting against her cousin, Queen Elizabeth I, Mary, once a queen in her own right, found herself a prisoner, her fate resting in the hands of her enemies. The execution, a grim spectacle, took place at Fotheringhay Castle. Mary, dressed in black, her face pale but composed, met her death with dignity. Charles I, King of England, found himself facing not a foreign army on a battlefield, but the wrath of his own people. Found guilty of treason, a charge he vehemently denied, Charles I was condemned to death. His execution marked the end of the monarchy and the beginning of a turbulent period of republican rule. The French Revolution, a storm of popular fury, swept away centuries of tradition, and at its heart lay the fate of King Louis XVI and his queen, Marie Antoinette. Once symbols of absolute power, they became prisoners of the revolution, their lavish lifestyle a stark contrast to the suffering of the French people. The reign of terror unleashed by the revolution would claim the lives of thousands, including the king and queen. On the Place de la Concorde, the guillotine, that chilling symbol of revolutionary justice, awaited. Elizabeth I, the Virgin Queen, her reign a golden age for England, was a woman who seemed to defy time. As her reign drew to a close, her health began to fail, her body weakened by ailments that even the best physicians of the day could not cure. The Queen, once so full of life and vigour, slipped away at Richmond Palace, her reign, one of the most remarkable in English history, coming to an end. Tsar Alexander I of Russia, a ruler who had faced down Napoleon Bonaparte, died under mysterious circumstances, leaving behind a legacy shrouded in speculation and intrigue. His sudden death, far from the glittering court of St. Petersburg, fueled rumors and conspiracy theories that continue to this day. Some whispered that the Tsar, weary of the burdens of rule, had faked his own death, choosing instead to live out his days in anonymity. Others claimed he had died a monk seeking solace in religion. Tsar Alexander II, known as the Liberator Tsar for his reforms, met a violent end, a victim of the very forces his reforms had unleashed. As his carriage made its way through the streets of St. Petersburg, a bomb, hurled by a member of the revolutionary group Narodnaya Volya, exploded, fatally wounding the Tsar. His assassination sent shockwaves through the empire and beyond. Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, could not have known that a sunny day in Sarajevo would have such catastrophic consequences. His assassination, a seemingly isolated event, would set in motion a chain of events that would plunge the world into war. King Faisal II of Iraq, a young monarch caught in the cross-currents of Cold War politics and regional instability, met a brutal end in a bloody military coup. The monarchy, once a symbol of stability in a turbulent region, was overthrown, and the young king, along with members of his family, was killed. The coup ushered in a new era in Iraq, one marked by political turmoil and violence. Tsar Nicholas II, the last Tsar of Russia, his wife Alexandra, and their 5 children became tragic victims of the Russian Revolution. Imprisoned first in their own palace, then in Siberia, they faced an increasingly uncertain future as the Bolsheviks consolidated their power. In the dead of night, in the basement of a house in Ekaterinburg, the Romanov family met their end. The Tsar, his wife, and their children were lined up and shot, their bodies hastily buried, their deaths a chilling reminder of the brutality of revolution. King Ananda Mahidol of Thailand, a young king who had ascended to the throne at the tender age of 9, died under mysterious circumstances, his death a source of speculation and controversy for decades. Found dead in his bedroom in the Grand Palace in Bangkok, the young king's death remains an unsolved puzzle. Diana, Princess of Wales, the People's Princess, captivated the world with her warmth, her compassion, and her dedication to humanitarian causes. Her tragic death in a car crash in Paris sent shockwaves of grief and disbelief around the globe. Queen Elizabeth II, the longest reigning monarch in British history, a symbol of stability and continuity in a rapidly changing world, died peacefully at Balmoral Castle in Scotland. Her death, at the age of 96, marked the end of an era. From the grandeur of Roman palaces to the tumultuous streets of revolutionary Paris, from medieval battlefields to modern cityscapes, the deaths of these royal figures offer a glimpse into the ever-shifting sands of power and the capricious nature of fate. Want details on a specific royal death? Let me know in the comments below which royal death fascinates you the most. Until then, may we all learn from the past, cherish the present, and approach the future with wisdom and compassion.